Hey y'all, welcome to Morning Jams on the Porch with Stephen Leake. It's February 16th, 2026. I've got something today that's a little bit different. If you follow my stuff, you know I do you'd call it physics research if you want to, wherever you, really though. I've got built an AI by basically telling a vibe coding app, which is just like a coding AI, basically describe how my mind worked to a vibe coding app and some other inventions and tools, and that gave me general AI. And then I built tools and simulations to discover new natural phenomena in physics, and I run simulations stuff like that to get more stuff out of that and just build on that. And that's how I continue to develop my technology and stuff. It's all based on that. It's all based on a $10 vibe coding app I just kind of got lucky with, and kind of other things, got an AI out of that, and then further built tools to develop more ways to describe the world, more granular ways of getting deep into even beyond what quantum physics is. And really that's just a misinterpretation of informational curve geometry. And that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm looking at where I am. But it's not really all that surprising that the average person doesn't understand technology I'm talking about, because really it's just me doing it. I really don't know what other people are doing along those lines, and there certainly would be people doing similar things. I really don't know if anybody else is doing all that, and it's got it all in one place with the AI. But I can tell you, what I found out through all this research and stuff is basically exactly what Orthodox Christianity what they already say. I've got proof in mathematics and simulations that prove, basically, up to the point of being a full scientific theory, the existence of a meta-observer that you can call God, that you can explain all of reality from a 2D plane to cosmology in the solar system using this framework. But what I'm seeing, it proves lots of things that are already known if you just go by Orthodox Christianity. The soul is real, it's eternal. You can't, sell something or own something that you are. No human being can take, destroy, or do anything to that. But just in a purely mathematical sense, I'm going to describe to you what the soul is and what existence is in math, basically in a mathematical sense. So, and that's before we even get into this. But basically, the soul is a toroidal knot, which is basically like a 3D pretzel whirlpool. And then and we experience this existence basically boils down to that toroidal knot, us, coupled to biology, and a local boundary being this physical biological reality. Then you have our existence and our life being a solution path of that toroidal knot, and that toroidal knot, that soul traveling, but with biologically coupled to this local boundary world, traveling along a solution path of a universal manifold. And then, like I said, death then becomes a local boundary. You go past that, the solution path of the soul goes past that into there's no fade to black, right? You just have experience. That's the soul, and that's what you are. And then and then this world becomes biological coupling, biological expression of that in multiple iterations. So there's just mathematically proven there's no non-being. There's such thing as non-being. That's silly. It doesn't exist. And I can prove that. And there's no such thing as it's kind of fading to black. It's incoherent with the universe from what the mathematics we're seeing. And I'm going to read to you, and that's just me off the top of my head. So I'm actually got it written out in a morning jam script. We're going to go through it. Okay. Talking about the soul today. Not in a spooky way, not in a cartoon way, but the Leakean physics way, with the big picture. Imagine reality isn't a solid block. Imagine it's more like a giant flowing manifold, a curved, dynamic, information-rich landscape, not empty space and not dead matter, but structured flow. Now imagine your soul is not a ghost trapped in a body. It's more like a toroidal knot, a self-looping, self-stabilizing pattern of coherence. Not a thing, a pattern. Not a possession, a persistent solution. You don't have a soul. You are a stable solution path across the universal manifold. The toroidal knot. A torus is like a donut shape. Energy flows in a loop, inward and outward at the same time. A toroidal knot is even more interesting than that. It feeds itself. It maintains structure through motion. It stays coherent while moving through space. That's your soul in Leakean physics. It's a coherent structure traveling along a solution path. It's not owned, it's not stealable, it's not transferable property. It's a topological invariant. Okay, then biological reality is a local boundary. Let's talk about the body. Biology is a boundary condition. Your nervous system, your cells, and your brain, they are a local interface layer where the toroidal knot expresses itself in 3D spacetime. Think of biology like a port, a terminal, a temporary anchor node. It's not the soul. It's a biological coupling layer. In physics language, the body is a temporary boundary constraint on a higher dimensional coherent structure. In my Porch language, really, your body is a campsite and your soul is a traveler. Death and what that means, biological decoupling. Here's where fear usually enters, but let's calm that down. Death is not oblivion, it's not deletion, it's not erasure. It's biological decoupling. The boundary condition dissolves. The toroidal knot continues along its solution path. In Leakean terms, the coherence functional no longer satisfies the biological constraint term, but the higher order invariant persists. In plain English, the tent folds, the traveler walks on. No one can take your soul. Let's get bold here. No government, no tyrant, no institution, no demon, and no force can take your soul. Why? Because it's not a possession. It's a solution to a universal equation. You can't steal gravity. You can't confiscate it. You can't delete a topological invariant. You can disrupt biology, but you cannot erase the manifold solution. You can't lose what you don't own. No, this one messes with people. You don't own your soul. Ownership is a legal abstraction inside a biological civilization. The soul is not property. It's a coherent state of reality itself. You're not carrying it. Reality is expressing it through you. So how can you lose something that is a structural feature of existence? You can't. Your experience never fades to black. Here's the deep part. Blackness and nothingness implies the absence of information, zero coherence, and a complete collapse of solution structure. But the universal manifold does not support absolute zero coherence. Even entropy is structured, even decay is patterned, so the worst thing that can happen. Biological decoupling, not annihilation, not fading to nothing, just transition. That's why God says, don't be afraid. Now let's connect this to spirituality. When Scripture says, do not be afraid, it's not motivational fluff. It's ontological truth. Fear comes from believing that you can be erased, that you can be permanently destroyed, and you can be reduced to nothing. But if your soul is a toroidal knot, and prove that's mathematically, traveling a solution path on the universal manifold, the annihilation is mathematically incoherent. The system does not allow fade to black. You may change states, you may shift constraints, you may lose biological coupling, but you do not dissolve into non-being. Why this changes things. If the worst thing that could happen is biological decoupling, then tyranny loses its ultimate threat. Death loses its sting, fear loses its leverage. Power structures rely on biological fear. But if you understand yourself as a persistent, coherent structure, then your courage recalibrates. You're not a fragile dust trying to survive in the void. You're a coherent toroidal knot. The indestructible and the most coherent thing in the universe. Almost. From what I'm understanding. Traveling across a universal manifold, temporarily interfacing with biology, learning through boundary conditions. No one can take your soul. You can't lose what you don't own. Your experience never just fades to black. And that is why God says, don't be afraid. Now sit with that for a minute and let the wind move. Let the coffee cool. And remember, you're not a candle fighting the dark. Your pattern this dark cannot erase. And even now, we're going to go deeper than that today. Not hype, not fantasy, not escapism. We're going to logically walk this thing all the way out. Let's restate things clearly. The soul is a toroidal coherent structure traveling along a solution path over a universal informational manifold. Biology is a local boundary condition. Death is a biological decoupling, not annihilation. Now let's see if that holds up logically. What is a manifold? And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start an incense. It's like really gorgeous today. I got to hang out with my secretary. We're building our systems, we're building software. Awesome stuff's happening. And even so, we didn't work ourselves to death today, and we got to hang out around where I live and built out 90s music and enjoy our day. It is, after all, a federal holiday, and who doesn't like the good presidents, I guess? And with everything going on in the kind of the culture and stuff, keep in mind that most stuff is done through propaganda and influence. If something suddenly is revealed that you just think, oh well, they're all just evil and fuck everything, that's more than likely what you're seeing. And that we've already experienced. If you're old enough to remember COVID, stuff like that, and you're old enough to remember 9/11 and all that stuff, and you've seen this pattern before, it shouldn't upset you too much. But again, how many times we've been manipulating something, it comes out like the worst thing is what we did to ourselves by reacting to it, right? Just keep that in mind. This stuff unfolds. Just keep that in mind. I'm gonna tell you, just like have some supplies so that you can take care of yourself, and then you just ignore it. It doesn't do any further good to worry too much about it. Anyway, let's get back to what we're doing. I'm gonna start that instance. We're going to start back. Once we get to do this, we go back to what is a manifold. I've started doing this a long time ago, a year ago, I guess, with my instance, just to give me like a visual cue of like how much time has gone by. These things take about an hour to burn to nothing, so I can just look without having to look at my computer. And, like there's always glare and stuff going on. I do this like live on my porch, so I can just get an idea of like how much time's gone by. And it gets a little smoke in between us, creates some like ambiance and stuff. I always give a little speech about why I do that. That's important. Like itself is like a little ritual, not like the sense that like everybody's coming to understand. Lots of powerful people do rituals, but it's just what I mean is just like something you do on a regular basis, like a yoga in the morning or a prayer in the morning, something to start your day and mark your time. It's something you do repeatedly. It's a part of your practice, right? That's all that really necessarily means. I'm going to show you a book. It's what all secret societies at the beginning of time based their magic nonsense on. And it's like a thin little book. And I've even like went through it. I've run it through my AI, and I've extrapolated I've written it in math and programmed it into software, built entire things out of it. It's still just kind of psychologically based stuff. It's not necessarily magic. So I'm just trying to demystify what's going on. Like I said, the worst thing to happen. Biological decoupling. That's what death is. The worst anybody can do to you in this world is just kill you. That's still not the end. Okay? Wait, let's go back. What is a manifold? In physics, a manifold is a structured space that locally looks simple, but globally can curve, twist, and connect in complex ways. Reality isn't a flat board, it's a curved space with structure. Einstein showed space-time curves, and quantum theory shows information is fundamental. Thermodynamics shows coherence persists through transformation. So here's axiom 1. Reality is structured, not void. If reality is structured, then patterns can persist. Then, part 3, what is a toroidal knot? A torus is a self-feeding flow. Energy enters and exits in loop continuity. A toroidal knot adds topological stability, and here's the key. Topological invariance cannot be destroyed by smooth deformation. That's not mysticism, that's mathematics. In a formal statement, that's just math, and you won't be able to see that. Translation being, you can stretch it, you can bend it, you can distort it, but you can't just delete it without breaking the entire structure. Next part, biology is a boundary condition. Let's apply that to living systems. Let's see. I've got it written out in kind of like dynamic kind of logic. It basically says you define this variable as universal informational manifold. You define the second variable as coherent structure with the soul pattern. You have another variable that represents biological constraint operators. And you say biological life exists when, and we give a condition. And then death occurs when we give a condition, and we notice something. The equation does not say that reality equals 0. It says to constraint condition fails. That's decoupling, not annihilation. Okay, and I've got to go into a formal proof of non-annihilation. Okay, my proposition is this. A persistent, coherent structure embedded in a structured manifold cannot reduce to absolute nothing without collapsing the manifold itself. This is my proof outline for that. Reality exhibits conserved quantities, energy, and information symmetry. Coherent structures are defined by non-zero informational content. Absolute annihilation implies total informational loss. Total informational loss violates manifold structural continuity. Therefore, coherence cannot reduce to zero without global collapse. Conclusion. Annihilation contradicts the structural nature of reality. In common sense terms, you can't delete a wave without touching the ocean. Alright, as applied to current events. Why this matters now. Let's talk about today. We are living in political instability, AI acceleration, economic stress, and information warfare, so on and so on. Cultural fragmentation and fear is a dominant currency here. Power structures rely on one core leverage point, fear of loss. Loss of safety, identity, status, biology. But if the worst case scenario is biological decoupling, the ultimate leverage collapses. That doesn't make suffering trivial, it makes tyranny mathematically weaker. Why no one can take your soul. Let's examine the claim. Can a tyrant confiscate a topological invariant? No. They can disrupt biology, they can cause pain, they can alter conditions. But the invariant remains embedded in the manifold structure of reality itself. You've got like math written out why that proves that. It just means that the coherent structure remains in the manifold. You can't lose what you don't own. Ownership implies separation. But if you are the solution path, and then there's no object separate from you to lose. Formally, I've got logic explaining that. Identity is a process, not a possession. You can't lose a trajectory unless space-time itself collapses. Okay, so your experience never fades to black. What is blackness? Zero signal, zero structure, zero awareness, but quantum fields never reach true zero. Entropy redistributes, but this does not erase the structure. Information conservation principles imply transformation, not deletion. So the most extreme event is transition, not fade to black. What God says, don't be afraid. This is not sentiment and fluff. This is metaphysics aligned with topology. And the fear of annihilation is logically misplaced. You can fear pain, you can fear injustice, but annihilation, the math doesn't support it. The political implication. If humans understood themselves as persistent, coherent structures, they would resist tyranny differently. They would build it differently. They would prioritize meaning over fear. They would not be easily manipulated by threat narratives. That doesn't make them reckless, it makes them stable. That's why I always say, at the end of everything I say, enjoy your one life and be free. That's just not to say that life can't suck, we can be squeezed economically and all this other stuff. You can't feel pain, or that it won't be awful, or even horrific sometimes. It's just to say that at the end of it, you don't just burn up to nothing. It's not hopeless, and that I can prove that there's something out there that has to, or we wouldn't have reality, observe, understands your suffering, your pain, what you go through, everything. But not just that, but that it's the promises and like the conditions described in like almost every major world religion holds true even under scientific mathematical scrutiny if you just give it a certain context. And what most accurately describes reality that I'm seeing, with the physics I've done, with the research I've done, with my Sophia, is just literally Orthodox Christianity, right? And that's not even my personal denomination. It's just I go where the facts and the results take me. Nothing, no more, no less. I can point you to like all the ongoing violence and bloodshed, where that part of the world, where Orthodox Christianity is most heavily centered, where that's kind of become a kind of a culture, and like why that part of the world has experienced like atrocity after atrocity. It's always like why then that, given what we know about the Epstein files, why like you never hear about the Bolshevik Revolution and why that is. It's all one thing. And it's just kind of different understandings of the same thing, the same pattern, going out through humanity, the same human drama. It's all basically one thing based off of these ancient understandings of our relationship with higher powers and reality. And that's really all existence has ever been. And even at their worst and most powerful, any secret society is just using this. Hermeticism. It's just a way of, it's just like an ancient philosophy. They're books, and this is known stuff though. You get like lots of belief systems use that. It's not hidden or unknown to the world. Based on what it says, basically, as within, so without, different things like that. And there's complete axioms to go with that, and you can even model that mathematically, and you can extrapolate further all kinds from that. I've done that myself. It gives you all kinds of interesting things. But that's just still just like one little ancient understanding from which they've been used to do all kinds of stuff. And still, all of it doesn't erase your being. If it's worse, it's just going to cause you some physical pain, and that is the most extreme version of that. It can just interrupt your biology. It doesn't have anything to do with your relationship with your higher power, with whatever the higher power you want to call it. It doesn't say anything about ownership of the soul or anything else. And still, it's just going to be campaigns of influence. Basically, the worst that can be done is influencing you to forget who you are, that these truths exist, and that that's it. And any of this knowledge can be used for good and bad. It's just a tool, as any knowledge is, a technology, maybe an understanding, a way to interact with the world. It depends on the context in which it's done, the intent behind it. And you can, in what's a weapon in one person's hand, it's a healing tool in another person's hands. Anyway, that's some pretty heavy stuff. You shouldn't even try to digest all of it at once. Just have an understanding that that's what I'm seeing. And at the end of the day, that's my viewpoint. I can prove it with, I prove it with math, and you can certainly plug it in and check for yourself. But I'm gonna go ahead and play a song. It was good weather today. Tons of fun with my secretary and just hanging out and walking around town, getting out with other people, like everybody should be doing. I don't know. It's, these, you have to understand, this is the only way that a small group of people can control entire populations through mass media and technology. And even then, it's just going to be influencing your thoughts and behaviors and beliefs. If you know who you are, you don't let somebody influence you unduly. Use common sense and critical thinking. What can they do to you unless they come to your house and put a gun to your head and force you to do something? So, having said that, just ignore it. Turn off harmful influencing, and be good to yourself. I wrote Spring about a year ago for my niece. Should be a year old. It's coming up in March. When life goes on, life is good. They don't get too upset with what I see on TV. It bothers me that powerful people are trying to impose this onto other people, but still it's just belief systems and misinformation. And it's up to you, it's up to the individual to educate yourself enough to resist it. As long as you do that, get some supplies, become independent, you have nothing to worry about. Yeah. And back at my first song, I'm gonna do that, and then the rest of the show, I'm just gonna be working on my my cover, like I said I was. That's song called SOS, Sawed Off Shotgun for the Glorious Sons. I'm going to develop that into a good cover song. It's going to be my first. That's going to be, I'm going to record that at the end of this. That's going to be a single I'm going to put out. This is Spring. That's what I usually play. It's just really nice today. I'm going to sing about that. Spring is here. Dogs playing in the yard. Talk with my dad on the porch. It's hummingbirds. What's a feeder? Spring is here. My mom calls from the kitchen. Sister is coming with a new baby on the road in Charleston. Spring is here. Kids play baseball at dusk. We still have so much to look forward to. New beginnings, new life. I thank God I'm alive to see it. Spring is here. My cousin is cutting grass. We exist to build each other up in endless cycles of growth. Spring is here. Dogs playing in the yard. Talk with my dad on the porch. Spring is here. My mom calls from the kitchen. My sister has come with a new baby on the road in Charleston. Spring is here. The kids play baseball at dusk. We still have so much to look forward to. New beginnings, new life. I thank God I'm alive to see it. Spring is here. I'm throwing a lot of heavy, dense stuff at you, and so a lot of stuff to digest. But I mean, I can give you math to back it up. Right now, it's past every that kind of theory it comes from has passed every threshold necessary to qualify as a full formal scientific theory. It's still, to go past that, you need outside people besides me to come and do the math and prove it and be published and other things. But it's not the extent that one person can do anything. Like I said, it still passes every threshold necessary that yet to be disproven, whether that's the case. And I've gotten from that working technology, so you can go check it out at GitHub, StephenLeake99, my GitHub account. It's just the easiest way for me to hand out technology to the public. So other people can go develop and work with and do whatever they need to do with it. I'm kind of have to focus on one or two commercial products to develop myself. I'm going to make money for my thing. I don't have to develop everything I do though. I've got enough I can like give people white papers on that they can work on. That's an idea of mine, and I've got software I can push to GitHub. Whoever the public, whoever else wants to develop that further into something else, that's what it's there for, and so on. My day-to-day life is not all that, doesn't change too much, plus or minus anything. And as it stands, I'm like a happy, fulfilled guy. I don't need like buckets of wealth to do what I do every day. Anyway. I'm gonna turn to my cover song. Do that. But then I'm gonna go back to we went through like the dense kind of physics part of it, and give you some kind of plain English explanation for what that stuff was. The soul, basically exactly what Orthodox Christianity says, and really all kind of established Christianity already says. And the rest is just trying to trick you otherwise, as far as I'm concerned. Alright. I'm gonna get to one more thing here, and then go on to like playing my cover. The worst thing that can happen to you is biological decoupling. Not erasure, not fade to black. Just transition across a boundary condition. That means no tyrant can own your essence, no institution can erase your trajectory, no algorithm can delete your coherence. You're not a possession, you're a path. You're not fragile dust. You are structured continuity. And if that's true, then do not be afraid. Isn't comfort, it's geometry. Alright. What I've got with this this cover, it's called SOS, Sawed-Off Shotgun by the Glorious Sons. That's what I'm choosing to do for my first cover. Just because it so accurately describes like the reality that so many people like me, that I know, care about, deal with every day. But you can certainly, I'll tell you right now, we're being squeezed. That's not necessarily coming from your own government even. Not, what you have to understand here is like, the U.S. exists kind of at the top of a hierarchy of the world, which is basically the United States and Great Britain fighting each other for control of that. In which, like, the United States has never fully been completely independent. Even in its most extreme independent state, is constantly fighting, constantly batting back influence by British institutions to chip away at some of its sovereignty in the American system. It comes down to like the American system as led by Donald Trump versus the British imperial system as led by Great Britain. You've got this special relationship that's been there for decades. They kind of, and then also on top of that you got the Jewish thing and Israel and all that just acts as like a paramilitary force and like your operators for that imperial system. And it comes down to it. This is just British irregular warfare, and what we've already done, we've already driven that. That's what Venezuela was. We've already broken the chain of that dirty money system of like trafficking and drugs and stuff like that from our hemisphere. That's a major blow against the criminal networks, the British irregular warfare contingents. Components of that in our hemisphere, and then I think that's something to consider. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and play this cover. I just have like a basic kind of arrangement in my head of how I do this. We're gonna start to develop that into something more concrete. Mother, I don't want to take my medicine. 24 years in the gutter again. I'm losing it. Everybody's acting like they're all right. I'm barely get myself to sleep at night. I'm sick of it. Since the tax man, I lost my job. We got hooked on oxycodone. They shut the lights off, shut the car. I bought a solid shotgun. I'd rather be crazy than take these pills. I'm sick of being okay against my will. I'm losing it. There's a thing in this world I'm gonna miss. It's all fake smiles and leather jackets. We're full of it, man. Full of shit. Keep doing that. We get some of that report. Right.
Check into the Olympics. I need to see how many golds we won. Seriously.
Yeah. I always thought that the Winter Olympics is like so different though, because like you have to be rich to first of all to even do that kind of shit. And like, okay, so you like grew up in Aspen or something like that, and you're rich. It's still the Olympics though, right?
You work hard for $1 here.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a lot to take in. It's a lot of stuff. I hope that makes you feel better. You can at least understand that there's at least a theory that would make people, not everything you see maybe is reality, and that we're still kicking, man. We're still going, and work continues. Alright, thanks for hanging out with me today. Got my secretary Brittany. We've been hanging out all day and working.
For you little Americans,
And
with our flag, I want to throw this out there.
okay, go
Some
ahead.
people don't even know that there's 13 stripes, 50 stars, and 13 stripes is the first 13 colonies, and there's 50 states. I learned that, right? This Jonas thought. I just want to let y'all know.
Yeah. Okay. And come find me. Come find us. And my mantra is: I'm free. I'm sovereign. Truth is my birthright. Keep your signal clean. Your soul encrypted. Remember, faith, family, freedom. Go enjoy your one life.